Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sarra Show Season 2. I am here in Oslo with Angel, who I just watched give an amazing talk on leadership. We're at the Oslo Business Forum. We literally just met, went up to him after the talk, and I was like, okay, we got to talk more because, as you guys know, I love watching men and women in their authentic voice, just being themselves and really sharing authentically their journey, especially when in terms of business. So Angel, thank you for being here. Thank you for saying yes on such short notice.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah. It was great fun just to have a quick chat with you right after. And I really enjoyed that you actually watched my presentation.
Yeah, I was just walking by and I decided to stop, and nothing is a coincidence.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm glad I stopped.
Yeah.
Here we are now.
Yeah.
How was the Oslo Business Forum for you?
It was really good. This is my second year. Obviously, it has been a partner, so we've been present here from last year and this year as well. But it was my first time giving a speech or a short keynote, and you always leave with massive inspiration and knowledge. I've tipped my hat off to Christopher and Marius many times and spoken to them about the service level they have, which is crazy, and notice all the details they do. So I enjoy being here. Yeah. And you always feel a lot of new content and inspiration when you leave.
Yeah, definitely. It's true. The details are just, I don't know if it's a Norwegian thing. It's my first time in Norway.
Oh.
But attention to details and thinking about everything. And guys, there was a side, like a corner side for introverts to go in and chill and recharge their batteries. I've never seen that at any conference. So that was incredibly amazing to witness.
And yet last year, what I always tell the story was last year, which was my first year, I really had to go to the restroom and I was just almost tripping. And then, but I wanted to wait. It was the last day and they were about to announce the keynotes for this year. So I was just waiting for them to just finally just say the main name so I could just get back to the restroom right away. And once they did, so they were still on stage, then it just, said an Adam Grant. And I was like, okay, nice. I'm going to go pee. And everybody was still the show wasn't even close to be over. So I go to the restrooms and I close the door behind me and the posters are now with Adam Grant and with all the new people. So maybe within those 4 or 5 minutes that the guys were on stage just doing the show as they did today, this whole stage changed. And I was like, they know their shit. This is crazy.
Yeah, that's true. Very professional, very well done. They did that this year as well. I noticed it in the bathroom as well. And I noticed the shirts as well when they announced for next year, 2025.
Exactly.
So you're from Know It.
Yeah.
Right? And we'll get there in a second. But first, I want you to share the story that inspired me when I heard you talk on stage, which was around how you got let go. Right?
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And now you're a whole different human. You went through a whole journey. You told me earlier you read about 40 books.
Yeah.
That's really dedication and, determination. And for me, that's also self-love, because you can go into, and Brené Brown was talking about this yesterday, knowers and learners, right? You can go into a learning mode and I want to understand what happened and what's going on with me. I want to grow, right? That's more of a learner mode, or into a knower mode, making everyone else wrong instead of looking at yourself, right?
Yeah.
You clearly did the learner thing, the growth mindset. So please share with us, what was that journey about for you from the beginning, how you got let go?
I didn't get let go. I just didn't get the offer, which was was like the final thing. It was my dream job. So I was kind of figuring out what to do. And one decision that I had made was to move from Copenhagen to Bergen, going away from a life of, bachelor, nice apartment, the nicest apartment in Copenhagen, living life, partying, and then some months later pursuing this Norwegian girl, my now wife, Silje, in the rainiest city in Europe, 285 days a year, and I'm Bulgarian and I need my sunshine. So there was just that in itself was a major, change for me. Also in those, important years. But then on top of that, I felt so well established, also job-wise and career-wise in Copenhagen. But had to, look for jobs that really didn't make sense in Bergen. And then felt like I finally found an oyster, really pretty lucky and quick, and through friends, and got through maybe 7 or 8 interviews, and was really vulnerable, really exposed, because the last interview was, with the whole C-level. The CEO, CFO, COO, CCO, and then also with maybe 3 or 4 other people, apart from the core team. The company, it was called Vimont at that time, and it still is, part of the TV2 Norway brand. They were really, visionary, and they were really, trying to change the world. That's the story that you understood. So I really felt that, okay, I'm about to get a chance here, because I know that I have something to give, but I'm always been, never found my place, really. I've always been like a generalist, never knew what I was good at.
Mm.
And then kind of just saw the dream job come up. And then the CEO told me, I'll never forget it. And it was actually one of the reasons why I've developed so much. He said, I'm not going to offer you the job. And the reason why I'm not going to offer you the job is that I am not sure if what you're saying because you mean it, or because you know that I want to hear it. And I don't have time to make that calculation. And
Figure it out.
To figure it out, yeah. Because they were like a startup. They were hiring a lot of people every week, and they were just taking over. And my reaction was really devastating. I sat down for maybe 3 or 4 hours at the Bergen and Bryggen. There's the harbor, and just looked into the water what am I doing? Why is it so hard for me to express what I'm good at, what I'm bad at? Where's my self-awareness? Why don't I just express my feelings or my my opinions, but really try to please people?
Mm.
And then that journey then started, and it was long, and it's still ongoing. I'm not even halfway there. But
how long ago was that?
So that was in 2013.
2013.
Yeah, so 12 years ago, maybe. Yeah, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been fun because you go through a lot. You start defining your strengths and weaknesses. And
But what happened right there and then? You're staring at the water, right? And you're like, okay, what's going on with me? Why can't I understand? What do I like? Why I don't like? Why can't I express myself freely? And then what? Is that then you go buy a book, or then what happened?
Yeah, then I started to say, okay, I need to start and then define with something, and then starting to see how I can grow, because I don't want to be in that situation again. It's completely okay not to get a job offer, but where it hits your integrity or your personality, that's a place which you want to change. I've always looked up to people who keep their word. My grandparents. I had all my grandparents until last week, but all 4 of them, and they've always been very proud, very integrity. When they say they do this, then they do it. And to question my word, that's something that wasn't acceptable to me. So what I started to say, okay, so this is never going to happen again. So what am I supposed to do for it to not happen again? So, okay, where does this, it's obviously a people pleaser problem. Where does this come from? And it's a lot of things, it's childhood. It's, I worked prior to this 15 years in a service, in hotels and restaurants and bars all over Copenhagen, where service management and people pleasing is the thing to do. So there were a lot of things that I needed to figure out and try to work. But I set a vision okay, from now on you need to be clear. So start trying to issue your opinion, and that in itself was hard with everyday life. Trying to say what you feel. And then the second thing was, I have a definition, or most people probably use the same definition, but psychological safety is, the bigger the gap is from what you're thinking until what you're saying, the less the psychological safety is. So we use that in organizations and in project teams and in delivery, whatever. So you try to set a culture where people can say what they think, and it's never gonna be non-existent. It's always gonna be people are people. But I started a path saying, okay, how can I bring that down to me? Like, do I need to feel confident? Do I need to look good? And all that. It's questioning almost everything.
Right. You know, when you talk about psychological safety, which is I am free to say how I'm feeling or what's happening within me, knowing that the person is also able to receive it. Right? Because I think there's that place where we're so scared of saying what's really going on with us because we're scared of how the person's going to receive it, if they receive it, right? Because they might shut us down, they might invalidate us, we might get bullied, whatever it is, you know, that we might think is going to happen, we're not going to be safe at the end of the day, right? And so we're not going to say it. It's safer not to say it. What I've learned in my life is it's actually not safer not to say it. It's safer not to be yourself and speak your truth. That's not safe for you because you create that separation between you and yourself. The less you speak your truth, the bigger the gap is between you and you.
Exactly.
But then sometimes we worry more about creating a gap between us and other people.
Yeah.
It's a fine balance to create, right?
Yeah, and it's a very interesting point because it also goes a little bit back to what we spoke briefly about, that people call bullshit. So if you don't speak your mind, or if you try to, you know, think, okay, I'm gonna say this because otherwise people are gonna bully me or call me up on something, it's actually much worse. They you know, authenticity is really easy to spot, and when you're not true to yourself, everybody will see it.
Yeah.
But it's a major journey to start doing that, and I think everybody has to do it in some way. I've never seen somebody not do anything. You're not born with it. The same with empathy that I spoke about today. It's not like just because it comes natural to me to be open and kind, you know, trying to connect with people, doesn't mean that I don't practice it or I can develop it even better. So if people are very introvert, as you say, or, you know, say, no, that's not for me, that then they just give up because they're not born that way. Everything is a skill that you need to learn.
Yeah, it's interesting how now we're more and more looking into soft skills, right? Like before we only looked at technical skills and stuff we learned in school, but nobody really teaches us any of the soft skills that we have that also require practice. You know, even kindness requires practice. I want to ask you about when you, so you go through this journey, right? You work on yourself, you learn to speak your truth more and more. And then now you're bringing this into the organization you work at. How did you get there?
Like in terms of today?
Yeah, in terms of like, what are you doing? You learned all of this amazing stuff and now you're bringing it to your organization. Right? So how did you land there from Angel, who didn't get the job he wanted, his dream jobs, to now learning and teaching others more about empathy?
It's only, you know, luck, timing, and people. So the reason why I got that job at Vemont a year later, but the reason I got it is because one of my great, you know, both friends and former colleagues, and also I see him as a bit of a mentor. Odne, he was here today actually. He started there at a higher position, and for some reason we connected, and he saw something in me. Maybe it was some sort of a hidden potential, as Adam Grant talked today, but he saw something in me that wasn't like completely developed. And a year later, he kind of already told me this, like also referencing Ola Gunnar today. You know, he told me that he made me feel a little bit important. So he kind of spoke a little bit in the future for me and said, like, I think we might have something, but we figure it out. And then he kept his word. And then I went to like a quick interview again and had this discussion with him. And then the CEO, Helge, came back. And then what was probably the most defining thing was that he actually saw the difference between me 1 year ago and me now. So he could see that I was a person that could, you know, receive critique and was maybe a person that wanted to develop yourself. So he could actually see the change. And then I started. And then that was really cool because that was like a multi-international company. I was a project manager, but it was always, you know, you had to do with so many different kinds of people and cultures. And my whole life I've been living between two cultures, and now three. So I managed that very well. And so it was really easy to excel and be good at that job.
Yeah.
And then I won one fight with my wife, so we moved back to Copenhagen. And lost that fight 2 years ago when we moved back to Bergen for the second time.
So you're back in Bergen.
Yeah, I'm back in Bergen, and we're not gonna go back to Copenhagen.
No, it's done.
No, it's now it's done. But I got even more experience there, and even more experience with the Danish culture in terms of consulting and strategy, and it's much more, it's much more aggressive than the Norwegian. So I learned more skills there, which actually excel here in a way because, depending how you use them, but you kind of, it's for me, it's always trying to be better in some way. Doesn't matter what, but just try to measure myself in some way because there's a balance. You cannot just go by Excel. You need to, you need to do it with thought, but then try to always be a little bit better in anything. Being a father, being a husband, being a worker, right?
Yeah.
So when we came back here and it was pretty nice because I had a lot of interviews with different consultancy companies, but at Knowit was the last one. And I didn't know this, but this is also a really cool story. I got told this for one of our Christmas parties that when after I interviewed, I think it was maybe the same evening or the day after they sent me the offer. And I quickly accepted. Nobody else had, something to come up with. And then I started at Knowit, and everything went very, very well. I feel really good at them. And then at one of the Christmas parties, Andrea, who was part of the interview, said, "Do you actually know why we hired you and what we did?" It's like, no, I never thought about it too much. Well, I said, well, you had put 2 references on when we talked. I gave them 2 references they could call. One of them was Odne, my previous job, and another one was a colleague from Copenhagen. But he called a completely separate person. He called someone that he knew that I was working with at Vemont and had actually also been a superior to me in Vemont, called Thomas. And he said like, "Oh, okay, you have Angel Alexandro with you, hire him." So it actually showed that, my name and my word I had developed that. That was really a big win for me.
Yeah.
It was amazing because he just went out of his league to actually get the true me out, in the air. And then I passed the test this time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're doing well, and
Thank
you're
you.
such an inspiration. I have one last question for you. Earlier, you spoke about the difference between empathy and sympathy.
Yeah.
Could you, again, for everyone else, explain that difference?
Yeah,
You
sure.
articulated in such a beautiful way.
Thank you. And I took the reference from Brené Brown. Actually, she has a lot of on that content, both videos and in her books. But basically, when you're sympathetic towards someone, you try to feel with them. And it's you do it from a good standpoint, but you do it from your own perspective. So you try to understand, you try to see how they're feeling, but you will often just respond towards what they're saying and how they're feeling. And that's the best case. As I said, the worst case is actually you feel pity for them. And Brené Brown says often being sympathetic towards someone will actually sometimes involve the word well, at least. So you understand that they are not going through they're going through something hard, but at least they are still alive, something like that.
Right.
So you're not really understanding what they're going through.
You kind of like diminish it, or
you either feel pity or diminish it, or you're just responding to what they're saying. But when you try to be empathic towards someone, then you need to put yourself in their shoes, and it's really not that easy. And you have to understand things from their perspective. And a lot of the times you won't agree with them at all, but you still understand what they're feeling. You try to understand, feel with them, and it's a major difference.
you can be with it. And I feel in my experience, when you're being with their experience, it kind of like makes it dissolve, or it goes away, or sometimes you don't even need to say anything. It's just being with what they're going through is all they need.
That's the whole point. So you connect with them.
Yeah.
You don't respond to make them feel better, but you connect with them, and just you being there makes them feel better.
Yeah.
So you're just sitting there with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I have one last question for you, and then we can break up. What was your biggest learning from this past couple of days here at the Oslo Business Forum?
That's a really good question. You know what? I'm gonna go a little bit arrogant this time, and it will go with keep doing what I do, because I can see that the people from all over the world, like the biggest speakers and keynotes on the different kinds of topics, are speaking about things that I've really been interested in, and actually know a lot of things. And I've always doubted myself, and it has taken me a lot of time to actually be able to see to myself, forget about this imposter syndrome. Also a lot of this shit. Just continue on. Believe in yourself. It's actually maybe one of the biggest things that I learned.
I love that. It was a huge confirmation for me as well.
Yeah.
The whole thing is about courageous leadership and creating culture and treating people as people and not objects, and really leading from that place. I think Brené mentioned yesterday, leading from the heart.
Yes.
So I totally resonate with what you're saying.
Awesome.
It's huge confirmation.
Thank you. This has been a pleasure, Sarah.
Thank you, Angel. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Let's take a moment to reflect on the power of purpose. Sefamar, a leader in assembling vehicles in Morocco, builds more than machines. They create the essential vehicles that move us forward, connecting people, building cities, and enabling progress. Just as their trucks and buses carry people and materials, bringing to life a vision of growth and development, we too are vehicles, carriers of ideas, dreams, and deeper truths. At the Sarra Show, we embrace what it means to be human and to serve a purpose beyond ourselves. When we surrender to that purpose, we unlock our true potential. Sefamar's vehicles connect communities. We, in turn, connect hearts and minds. Thank you for joining us in this shared journey of creation and connection. Together, we are all vehicles for something greater.